Let's build an Aboleth encounter. Aboleths are creatures that have existed since before the coming of the gods. They lurked in primordial oceans and underground lakes. Before the gods, they reigned over the world, enslaving the many creatures. But then the true gods appeared, smashing the Aboleth's empire and freeing their slaves. The Aboleths have never forgotten, as they have eternal memories, flawlessly passed on from one generation to the next. Thus, the injury of their defeat by the gods remains perfectly preserved in their minds. So for our Aboleth, let's first craft a location. How about Lake Schattenwasser, translating to shadowy water in English. A dark glacial lake nestled in a misty pine valley, about half a day's journey from Schattendorf, meaning shadowy village in English, a quiet village. The lake is deep, cold, and not often fished, except by a single family, the Winters, who live in an isolated cottage on the northern shore. No one swims in the lake anymore. Locals say the water doesn't feel right. For our Winters family, we'll have 3 people. Gertrude Winters, a mother in her mid-40s, gentle and quiet. She often stares off into the distance absent-mindedly. Gunther Winters, a father in his early 50s, who tends to the boats, avoids conversations, and is unusually strong. And Elsa Winters, the daughter of the two, is pale, unnervingly calm, and often speaks in riddles, or asks questions about things she shouldn't know. All 3 are under the Aboleth charm, with the Aboleth's enslave ability reading, the Aboleth targets one creature it can see within 30 feet of it. The target must succeed on a DC 14 wisdom saving throw or be magically charmed by the Aboleth until the Aboleth dies or until it is on a different plane of existence from the target. The charmed target is under the Aboleth's control. It can't take reactions, and the Aboleth at the target can communicate telepathically with each other over any distance. Whenever the charmed target takes damage, the target can repeat the saving throw. On a success, the effect ends. No more than once every 24 hours, the target can also repeat the saving throw when it is at least 1 mile away from the Aboleth. Unfortunately, our Winters family does not get to repeat its saving throw since they live next to the lake. Another one of the Aboleth's abilities is its mucus cloud. While underwater, the Aboleth is surrounded by transformative mucus. A creature that touches the Aboleth or that hits it with a melee attack while within 5 feet of it must make a DC 14 Constitution saving throw. On a failure, the creature is deceased for 1d4 hours. The deceased creature can only breathe underwater, so the Aboleth can force a creature to be able to only breathe underwater. This effect is worsened if a creature is hit by one of its tentacles. If a creature is hit by one of its tentacles, it must succeed on a DC 14 Constitution saving throw or also become deceased. This disease, however, is far worse, as it has no effect for 1 minute, but after that minute has passed, the deceased creature's skin becomes translucent and slimy. The creature can't regain hit points unless it is underwater, and the disease can be removed only by heal or another disease curing spell of 6 level or higher. When a creature is outside a body of water, it takes 6 1d12 acid damage every 10 minutes unless moisture is applied to the skin before the 10 minutes have passed. Since these texts are strictly mechanical in nature, we will take some flavoring from them. We'll say that Gunther Winters is unusually wet, with his fisherman's coat always soaked in water. Any player with a passive perception of 12 or higher also notices that on the side of his throat, gills have started to form. Since he's the one that's most often outside on the lake, he has started transforming the most out of the Winters. Since the Aboleth has had control over the Winters for a long time, they have started worshipping it, more or less losing their minds, but also gaining new abilities. For them, we will be using the Cult Fanatic stat block, with the daughter only using the stat block of a cultist, being far weaker than the 2 adults. Let's also craft some rumors within the village of Schattendorf. Some of the villagers occasionally report strange dreams of being underwater, drowning, or seeing vast alien shapes in the deep. Some have noticed that fish from the lake can only survive in water from the lake. They die quickly if placed elsewhere. One of the locals, who used to be a fisherman, has mysteriously fallen ill, needing a bucket of water to breathe and having to constantly moisturize his skin. Let's name this local Simon Schwarz. The retired fisher is currently being tended to by the local priest, Father Hoffman, who uses the priest stat block, who unfortunately for Simon only has spells up to level 3, with lesser restoration unfortunately not being enough to cure the man. With this background being established, let's also add some mechanical implications. For us, anyone who drinks from the lake water or is in contact with it for more than a minute must succeed on a DC 12 Constitution save or be deceased as per a mucus cloud, so they can only breathe underwater for 1d4 hours. Let's also establish how our Aboleth behaves. We'll call him Ulag Sol. I think that's a good name. He's an ancient Aboleth and doesn't care to the surface, it simply watches and waits. It is gathering memories through dreams and scries on the surroundings through the charmed family. It has no desire for conquest, but simply wishes to preserve the old ways before the gods reshape the world, and it is waiting for any good opportunity to take control. For its personality and goals, we will say it is alien, cold and curious. It sees mortals such as our players only as clay to shape. It wants to study, not kill them, unless provoked. The most it will do to our players is attempt to charm them and learn about them, as when a creature communicates telepathically with the Aboleth learns the creature's greatest desire if the Aboleth can see the creature. With that, its motivation is established. Learn about the players. See if they can be useful. One of the Aboleth's regional effects is as an action the Aboleth can create an illusionary image of itself within 1 mile of the layer. The copy can appear at any location the Aboleth has seen before, or in any location a creature charmed by the Aboleth can currently see. Once created, the image lasts for as long as the Aboleth maintains concentration, as if concentrating on a spell. Although the image is intangible, it looks, sounds, and can move like the Aboleth. The Aboleth can sense, speak, and use telepathy from the image's position as if present at that position. If the image takes any damage, it disappears. If the Aboleth interacts with the players, it will be through one of these illusions. You, as the DM, know the following information. The Aboleth is well aware of its own abilities, and since it knows that it has full control over the Winters family, it uses them as an extension of itself, just in case it ever needs to cure anyone of the effects that it can bestow on people. It has produced a few flasks of antidote stored in one of the rooms in the Winters house. This antidote will cure the ill effects the Aboleth has, reversing any of its transformations. The goal for the session will be for you to get your players to go to the Winters house, either stealth past the Winters, stealing the antidote, fighting and killing the Winters, getting the antidote that way, since if one of the targets of the enslave ability takes any damage, it can repeat its saving throw on the control the Aboleth has over it. Fighting the Winters family doesn't necessarily mean killing them. It could, in fact, mean the players are able to break the control of the Aboleth over them. This would likely be the best case outcome. Should they ignore the Winters and try to find out whatever is on the lake, the Aboleth, or rather its projection, will try to communicate with the players. Should they ask it for a cure, it will provide one through the Winters family, if the players are able to provide it with any good information. Maybe an old book they carry with them, or maybe an interesting tale, since it is information that the Aboleth is after first and foremost. The Aboleth itself is not what the players should be fighting. Should the players attack the illusion, the Aboleth will not fight them directly. It will instead keep creating illusions of itself and using those to try and enslave the players. If it succeeds, it will make that player fight the others. Since this is very bad, do your best as a dungeon master to try to avoid this scenario. Describe the Aboleth's illusion that they see as something overwhelming, something they should not be fighting. If they do fight it, it doesn't necessarily mean that the group's going to die, but it should be dangerous, and you should punish them. With all that established, let's create a hook for the players. As your players arrive to Schattendorf, mists curl low over the roads as the trees thin and the rooftops of Schattendorf come into view. A modest village nestled in a cradle of pine-cloaked hills. The air is sharp and still, the only sound a distant caw of a raven. The houses are small, with steep slate roofs and walls weathered by mountain winds. Wood smoke drifts gently from chimneys, and a few villagers eye you from under scarves or wide-brimmed hats, but say nothing You can feel this is not a place where strangers are common. The scent of cold lake water lingers beneath the pine, and something else, a faint tinge of rot. If the players either ask around in the village for rumors, anything of interest, or if you as the DM decide it's time for it, having one of the villagers approach the players, you find yourself in a conversation with a wiry old man missing 2 fingers. He glances around before speaking to you, lowering his voice.
You ain't heard of poor Simon then? Poor lad. Fisher, like his father. He went out then a few weeks back. Down to the lake. Came back sick, don't you know? Said the water had changed. Now he don't breathe like us no more. Can't leave his bucket without choking.
The man leans in closer.
Father Hoffman's been looking after him. But I think he's scared too. He keeps saying things about dreams and old gods under the lake.
He shakes his head.
You want my advice? Stay away from this village. Leave Shuttlewasser. The lake remembers something it shouldn't.
With that, your players hopefully go to the chapel or, leave the place, in which case, why are you playing Dungeons & Dragons? If your players decide to approach the chapel, the following is read aloud to them. The village chapel is a squat stone structure built before memory, its bell tower leaning slightly as if bowing to the hills. Ivy climbs its sides, and the stained glass above the door is cracked. An image of some forgotten saint, arms raised to the sky. The scent of incense barely masks something foul, mildew and wet skin, sickness. Inside, candles flicker along the walls, casting long shadows. Father Hoffman kneels before the altar, muttering a prayer, but his eyes are fixed on the back room. There, half submerged in a wooden washtub, is a man, young, gaunt, and pale as bone. His chest rises and falls in slow, gurgling motions. A crude helmet made from an old brass bucket covers his head, half filled with sloshing water. If the players ask Father Hoffman about the rumors, read aloud the following. Father Hoffman turns from the altar, his face lined with sleepless worry. He bows his head slightly.
So you've heard the rumors then? What you see in Simon is not illness, it's transformation. I've prayed, I've fasted, I've tried every rite I know, but my divine magics are not enough for this. His soul, it's not gone, it seems to be submerged.
He glances towards the tub, lowering his voice.
He dreams of something vast, something ancient beneath the lake, and he's not the only one here. I've heard whispers from others. They all speak of the same black waters, and a voice without a mouth. Whatever this is, it is not of this world, and it is not yet finished with us.
Should they approach Simon directly, inquiring about his current condition, or how it came to be, read aloud the following. Simon looks up through the water in his bucket, eyes wide and unfocused. He lifts one trembling hand to his throat and taps the metal. A rasping voice bubbles from within.
It's watching in the deep. It's watching in the deep. It doesn't forget. We're just reflections to it now. I didn't want to go down. It called me anyway.
His skin glistens with moisture, peeling in thin, curling stripes. You see small, pink slits along his neck. Gills.
The Winters family. They're not right. Them Gunther, one of theirs. He was with me when it happened. He lives next to the lake, I know what it is to me. The lake. Stay away from it. Something in the deep. The Winters. They know.
Should the players approach the Winters house, trying to find out more about these strange occurrences, read out the following. A small wooden cottage sits alone by the water, surrounded by cattails and silence. Smoke curls from the chimney, but the windows are shuttered. A fishing boat rests by a warped dock, half sunken into the black water. The air here feels colder, like the lake is exhaling. You catch a glimpse of a girl at one of the windows, pale, dark-haired, staring out from behind the curtains. Her mouth doesn't move, but you feel a whisper in your mind. Go away. From here, the players can either try to sneak into the house, attempting to find anything of use, maybe finding the cure in the process, speak to the Winters, in which case they might, with some good checks, divulge the information that they could in fact heal someone. Since they are, however, controlled by the Aboleth, they would for that 100% want something. So some good information, or a good book, like an old tome, something along those lines. To make this interesting, since a lot of the sessions so far would have been just talking, you may just want to have the Winters, and depending on your group, you may just want to have the Winters attack your players, in which case they can heroically beat them or, free them from the influence. If your players succeed in that, they will get the antidote and be able to heal poor Simon back in the village of Schattendorf. Be sure to have a reward for your players by either Simon, the priest, or by just finding something in the house. Maybe even the Winters could reward them if you manage to free them from the influence. In any case, that is it for today. That's what I cooked up. I don't even know why I'm making this video on this channel. I just think this is kind of cool. And yeah, that's it. I don't even know what kind of format this is. I will see you in the next video, I suppose. Goodbye. Let's see if... Can we get to 10 views, guys?